are you?
Okay. My name is Jody Miller. I'm an MFT. I've been working in this business for about 18 years. I was educated at Hahnemann University, which was the birthplace of many schools of family therapy, many renowned professors. I did a lot of work in community mental health, and I later went on to create and direct an adolescent day program at Eugenia Hospital when I was inundated with 14 through 17-year-olds 5 days a week for about 3 or 4 years. It's where I got a lot of experience in family therapy. I'm from Philadelphia, born and raised, and although I've traveled a lot, this is where I call home.
So how did you become a family therapist?
The reason I became a family therapist was because I came from a family with a lot of conflict, and on the journey to resolve the conflict in my family and ultimately being able to achieve resolution in my family, I learned and gathered enough material that I realized I could really help others in resolving their family issues.
And what are some of the techniques and what sets you apart from other therapists?
You know, what sets me apart from other therapists really is summed up in my tagline, which is within every problem is an amazing opportunity for growth. Within every problem is an amazing opportunity for growth. What that means to me and how I submit that to families is that if the problems are put on the table, if people are willing to work together, then rather than what the option is, which is denial and brushing under the table and a lot of shame and resentment, which inevitably will lead to a family's downfall, a spiral down, rather than that with the promise of a positive outcome, people put their issues on the table, and it's with the idea that what we learn and how we grow will eventually lead to family stability and to emotional connection and harmony in the family. So I think it's a bit of a different way of working than a lot of therapists actually connect to. It's not a technique so much as it's an intuitive way of working with families that really allows for the shame and the judgment and the guilt that goes along with talking about your problems to kind of disappear in the spirit of growth and ultimate harmony.
So Jody, in a family therapy situation, what's your strategy or your theory? How do you operate?
Okay. You know, my underlying theory when I'm working with a family has a lot to do with my certainty that there is nothing in a family that can't ultimately be resolved when, again, things are really revealed, when things are put on the table. If everyone is honest about issues that they might have otherwise never talked about or even taken to their grave, if people can really get honest about what their issues are, then there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that is unresolvable. So it's a little bit like a no pain, no gain mentality. No pain, no gain mentality, which means that we might experience some pain now, but in the end, we're going to get tremendous gain. So that in this way, the pain that people experience, rather than feeling so negative and so impossible, can sort of have some positive energy infused in it.
Okay. Do you think that if they go through this pain that there's growth on the other side? How do you think about that?
Well, you know, if they are willing to go through the pain and really reveal themselves, and again, this is the part I think would make for great TV, that I have the ability to intuitively and overtly submit to family members to really put their stuff on the table. Again, if they are willing to do this and able to do this, and I'm there to support and make sure that they do, then I do have a promise to them that we will resolve the issues in the family. And that's a promise I really do keep. I don't think I've ever really backed down on that promise. So no pain, no gain is something that I think people of all ages can relate to in the family. There's everything from simple fairy tales to elaborate narratives, even biblical stories, that really relate to that mentality of no pain, no gain. So it's a concept for all ages, for every member of a family. And I believe people really do connect to it well.
And in the family therapy situation, what's the ultimate outcome?
You know, the ultimate outcome for any family is increased harmony for the family, emotional stability for each individual, and of course there's plenty of studies that show that, you know, you can give a kid math and science extras and culture, and you can give them many things, but the true success meter for any adult comes from the stability of his childhood. So the actual process itself, you know, lends to successful adults being launched in the world.
Tell us about you. I mean, who would we see in front of the camera? Are you fun? Are you humorous? Are you a no-nonsense hard ass? Are you confrontational? Or do you promote kindness at all costs?
Yeah. I know, you know, the question was asked of what kind of therapist I am and how I would come across on TV. You know, I think I am all those things. I definitely can be very, very tough. I know I like to have some fun in the sessions, so I can actually be humorous, and I'm pretty intense and dynamic. I'm very proactive. I like to see things done. I like action. I like for things to be happening in families. The one thing I'm not, however, is judgmental or extortive in any way. I really don't see things so much as good and bad or right and wrong. I have a much more sort of holistic approach in the sense that I feel like judgment will just have people begin to cover things up, push stuff down. And if you can come across with empathy and compassion, you can also still be very, very tough. And you can also be very, very dynamic.
Do you ever back down in the session? Like, what if somebody gets unruly or really confrontational?
Yeah. Well, one of the hallmarks of how I work is that I do not ever, ever, ever back down in a family. I don't care if it's a 6'4" dad yelling in my face or if it's a flailing teenager. I really don't back down. I've been known to follow people not only out of my therapy room, but out into the parking lot and knock on their car window if necessary to get them back into a session. And again, I think that would make for good TV, because I will never let somebody in a family get that power to be able to break up a session and take off. Whether I'm running down some TV studio corridor or I'm going into a kid's bedroom to drag them back into a session, they will be dragged back into the session. In that way, I'm tough. You know, in-home therapy, of course, is a very interesting way of doing therapy and extraordinarily dynamic. Here in the home, a therapist really does get to observe the reactionary behavior of a family much quicker than in the office. So ultimately, the same behaviors will come out either way, but in the home, a therapist quickly gets to see the power dynamics, the coalitions, the deadly triangles that define a dysfunctional family. The opportunity is great in a home to help a family really quickly connect to new and healthier strategies. You can find out, you know, who's sleeping where. Are we having dinner together? How much screen time? Is everybody in a different room watching a different TV, doing a different video game on a different computer? How much connection is actually happening? So in-home therapy gives the therapist an opportunity to really, first of all, observe reactionary behavior and begin to balance that sum, bring the family together in a proactive manner, and really begin to integrate family members in a rather accelerated manner.
Jody, what techniques do you use with dysfunctional families?
You know, I'm a therapist with very few official techniques that I use. Although I'm schooled in extraordinary technical family therapy interventions, I really am a therapist who works very much intuitively, and I work a lot really to help people be less reactive in their families, and to really begin to enjoy each other's company and tell the truth to each other. Some of the things that are almost always necessary to do is make sure there's a strong parental bond. You want to relieve the anxiety of the children who are often either parentified or infantilized. There's a lot of anxiety that goes with when a child becomes the parents' parents, or when there's the baby boy in the family who's babied all the time.
So Jody, do you think it's good when a parent shares their struggles with their children?
Yeah. One of the most powerful effects, I think, that can happen in a family, one of the things that has the most powerful effect, is when a parent or parents are willing to begin to share their own struggle in childhood and or adolescence with their kids. This initially makes a parent begin to take ownership of his own issues, and has the added benefit of allowing a child to connect to the parent in a way that they may find they have very parallel issues. And I kind of fancy myself an expert at sniffing out the issues that an adult in a family might be carrying around and projecting onto his or her kids. So that is one of my claim to fame, that I think would also make excellent TV.
So Jody, are there myths of family therapy that you would challenge?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest myths in family therapy is that you can apply a particular school of thought to any given family. Family therapy must be eclectic, and to me, one of the really true ways of working, one of the only truths about family therapy, is that you must gain a family's trust. And every family is extraordinarily different. They're each their own anthropological study. They're each a culture of their own. And unless a therapist has enough experience and knowledge and sort of intuition to go in there and really bond with this family and gain their trust, family therapy outcomes are not going to be fabulous as far as I can see. It's a very difficult venue, but it's why I love it, because it really is like visiting a different village or a different town every time you go into a new family, almost like visiting a whole new culture.
What is the biggest issue facing today's family?
There are many very big issues facing families today. Of course, we all know about the bullying. Addiction, as seen in intervention, is a horrific problem for adolescents, teenagers, and young adults. However, I believe it all really does stem from one primary problem, and that is that people are incredibly disconnected. A family often these days are strangers living under the same roof. If people can begin to connect, if there can begin to be a true bond, some intimacy between children and their parents, then we begin the journey towards a healthy outcome and towards healthy family harmony.
Jody, what's your mission?
I think the biggest issue that will help a family, the biggest help that can happen in a family, is when children finally begin to feel safe confiding in their parents. And when a parent is strong enough to do an intervention for a child, when they begin to feel like a team. There's power in numbers, and I guess the first team that we really ever have in life is our family. And if that can be a cohesive unit with strong and stable parents, that's the outcome. That's the mission of family therapy.
So Jody, why would you be the best therapist for Family 411?
The reason I think I'd be an excellent choice for Family 911 is I truly am passionate about my work. I've come from a background of conflict that I readily share with families, so you get a little personal dirt with that. And because I really do see that it could make a difference. I believe that if this show were out there for families to view, so many families who think that they are alone with their problems, who think they are the only crazy family on the block, get to see that some of the things that they go through, so does the guy next door or down the street. And I think it would give them hope and optimism, and perhaps even really support them in connecting to their own therapist and getting their own therapy, or perhaps even resolving a problem that a family resolves on TV. So I think it's a great idea, great venue, and I think I'd be great for the show.
Do you think you could really make a difference?
I think I could really, really make a difference.
Jody, what's your tagline?
My tagline is, within every problem is an amazing opportunity for growth. Also known as, on the other side of your problems, your future is waiting. It's something I really believe in and something I will stand by and really submit to every person that I work with.